Growing up, I wasn't just the silent sibling. I was the forgotten one. My name's Claire. And in my family, silence wasn't golden. It was survival. My older brother, Adam, was the sun around which our family revolved. Golden boy, star athlete, dad's pride, mom's favorite. I was just there. Not unloved, but overlooked. Like furniture. Necessary, but never admired from a young age. I learned not to expect much. Adam's needs always came first. If he wanted piano lessons, he got them. When I asked for dance classes, we couldn't afford it. When he wanted a car at 16, Dad co-signed without hesitation. I used public transport until I was 22, but I never complained. Not out loud. Instead, I poured my energy into becoming independent. I worked part-time jobs, studied hard, graduated with honors, and landed a decent marketing job right after college. I thought maybe that would finally make them see me. It didn't. Still, I kept my head down and kept building my own life, quietly, diligently. I met someone, his name's Leo, and for the first time in my life, someone looked at me like I mattered. He loved me for who I was, not for what I could offer or how well I could disappear. With him, I felt seen. When we got engaged after 3 years of dating, I was ecstatic. My parents didn't throw a celebration or even ask about the ring. They simply said, "Congrats," like I'd just gotten a haircut. Still, I was hopeful, because there was one thing I thought they'd help with. When I was 17, my mom told me they were putting aside some money for my future wedding. "We want you to have a beautiful day someday," she said. "Every girl deserves that." Those words stayed with me. I didn't dare dream big, but I allowed myself one hope, that I'd get to walk down the aisle without worrying about crushing debt, that my parents would show up for me for once. I didn't know that Adam would crush that dream with one bad decision. Actually, scratch that. Dozens of bad decisions. You see, while I was quietly building a life, Adam was loudly destroying his. After college, he married young his high school sweetheart, Julia. At first, everyone said they were the perfect couple, but it didn't take long for cracks to show. Adam cheated. Not once. Repeatedly. And yet every time, my parents took his side. They blamed Julia, said she was cold, nagging, to focus on her career. They insisted Adam was just lost and he'd grow out of it. He never did. Julia finally filed for divorce when she found proof: messages, photos, receipts of Adam renting hotel rooms for weekend affairs. She'd had enough, and who could blame her? But Adam, he didn't take it well, not at all. And neither did my parents. They blamed her. "She's trying to ruin his life," Dad said. He could lose everything in this divorce. I remember standing there in disbelief as my mother nodded in agreement, like Adam was the victim. "Everything?" I asked. "You mean the house she bought and the car she helped pay for?" Dad gave me a look like I'd grown horns. "Don't start, Claire. You don't understand how this works." I wanted to scream, but I stayed silent. As usual, until a few weeks later when I found out the truth. Leo and I had just finished touring a wedding venue. It was small, intimate, surrounded by wildflowers and twinkling lights. I fell in love with it instantly. "I think this is it," I told him, my heart fluttering. "Let's book it." So we did, on hold, pending deposit. We went back to my parents' house that evening to share the news. Mom was distracted, folding laundry. Dad was watching sports. "We're ready to book the venue," I said. "Do you remember the wedding fund you said you were saving for me? I just need to know how much we have available." The room went still. Then Dad turned off the TV. He didn't even look guilty about that. "There's no money, Claire." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "It's gone," he said, shrugging. "We had to use it." I felt my chest tighten. "For what?" Mom suddenly found the laundry very interesting. Dad looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Adam's legal fees." I laughed. It came out sharp, almost hysterical. "You're kidding, right?" He wasn't. Apparently, when Julia filed for divorce, she came at Adam hard, and rightfully so. She had evidence, and she was ready to take him for everything. So, my father stepped in like he always did and hired a top-tier divorce attorney to defend his precious son. With my wedding fund, I couldn't just leave him hanging. "Claire," Dad said, "you have Leo. He has a good job. You can figure something out." I was stunned. "So let me get this straight. You gave away the money you promised me so Adam could defend himself after cheating on his wife repeatedly?" Dad's voice hardened. "Family comes first. He needed us." I shook my head. "I am family too. You have Leo." Mom said quietly, "Adam has no one." I was shaking with rage. "He has you. He's always had you." They looked at me like I was being dramatic. like I was ungrateful for everything they'd never actually done. I left the house that night with tears streaming down my face. I didn't say goodbye. The next day, I called the venue and canceled our booking. Leo was angry not at me, but for me. He offered to cover the whole thing, but it didn't feel right. I didn't want him to be my plan B just because my parents made me their last priority. I felt humiliated, but more than that, I felt done pretending, done swallowing hurt, done playing second fiddle to the son who could do no wrong. And that's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. The day after I canceled the venue, I didn't get a single message from my parents, no apology, no explanation, not even a "how are you holding up?" It was like my disappointment meant nothing to them, as if my wedding was a passing whim, not something I'd been dreaming about since I was a teenager. But I knew why they were quiet. Guilt. Or maybe worse, no guilt at all. I stayed in bed most of the next morning. My phone buzzed constantly, but it was just Leo and my maid of honor, Jessica, checking in. I didn't have the energy to respond. I wasn't ready to talk about it, not yet. By noon, Leo showed up at my apartment with lunch and a bouquet of sunflowers, my favorite. He sat down next to me, handed me a coffee, and just said, "Whenever you're ready." It took everything not to cry again, but the tears were dry. I felt hollow. They gave it to him without even asking me, I whispered, like my life just didn't count. Leo nodded. "I know, and it's not right. They always do this," I said. "Adam screws up and they clean up his mess, and I'm just supposed to be okay with it. But you're not okay." "No," I said. "I'm not." And for once, I didn't try to fix that. Today's passed. Then still nothing from my parents. So I broke the silence. I sent a long message to our family group chat, not to make a scene, not to stir drama, but to be honest, brutally honest. "You took something that was meant for me and gave it to Adam to protect him from the consequences of cheating on his wife. You didn't ask. You didn't tell me. You just decided I mattered less again. And I'm tired of pretending that's okay. I'm done being silent. I deserve better. I still do." I sent it and muted the chat. I didn't want to watch the reactions in real time, but when I finally checked later that evening, the response was exactly what I feared and exactly what I needed to see. Adam had replied with a single line, "Wow, way to make my divorce all about you. And Dad, this is not how you handle family matters, Claire. You're being ungrateful and disrespectful." Mom didn't say a word. That silence spoke volumes. The next day, I blocked them all. Every single one of them. I felt sick doing it. I stared at my phone for 10 minutes before pressing block, like I was committing a crime. But I knew deep down I wasn't cutting them off to hurt them. I was doing it to protect myself. Because if I didn't draw the line now, they'd keep walking over it forever. The following weeks were brutal. Planning a wedding without parents, especially a mother, was harder than I imagined. Every time I tried on a dress or looked at flower arrangements, I felt a pang of loss. Not because I missed them necessarily, but because I missed what I never had. That dream of a loving, supportive family. It wasn't real, but Leo was. Jessica was. My chosen family showed up in ways that meant everything. Jessica took over the planning binder. My future mother-in-law offered to help with the dress. Even Leo's younger sister cried when she saw me in my gown. It wasn't the wedding I planned, but it was slowly becoming mine. Then, 3 weeks before the ceremony, something unexpected happened. Julie, Adam's ex-wife, called me. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Not since she and Adam were newlyweds, and I was still naive enough to think they'd make it work. "Hi, Claire," she said awkwardly. "I hope this isn't weird. I just heard what happened." I was caught off guard. "Heard from who?" "Mutual friend," she said. "She told me about your wedding fund. That your dad gave it to Adam to pay for his lawyer." I exhaled. "Yeah, that happened." There was a long pause. Then Julia said something that stunned me. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And I know what that kind of betrayal feels like." It felt strange, comforting, and tragic at the same time. We're both victims of Adam's messes. "Thank you," I said softly. "He's never been held accountable." She continued. "Not once. Your dad always covers for him. Your mom too. It's like they think shielding him is love." "I used to think they'd change," I said. "But now I just think they can't see past him." Julia sighed. "They're going to regret it someday." I don't know why, but those words stayed with me for days. Maybe because I realized I wasn't the only one they'd failed. A week before the wedding, I received an unexpected package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a card with no signature. Just 2 words. I'm sorry, and an envelope with a check for $5,000. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't from Adam. It wasn't from my dad. It had to be from Mom. It was her way of saying she knew she was wrong but couldn't say it out loud. I thought about calling her, about trying to reconnect. But then I remembered something Leo said weeks ago. When I was crying in bed, you keep hoping they'll choose you. But maybe it's time to choose yourself. So I didn't call. I deposited the check, but I didn't invite them. Not even my mother. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. Our wedding was held in a garden at sunset. Simple, beautiful ours. I walked down the aisle surrounded by people who loved me, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Leo cried when he saw me. Jessica gave the toast of a lifetime. And when I danced with Leo's dad for the father-daughter dance, I felt more whole than I had in years. Not because the pain was gone, but because I had survived it, and I was stronger for it. But just when I thought the chapter was closed, Adam reappeared at the worst possible moment. A week after the wedding, Leo and I were just settling into the warm afterglow of being newlyweds. We were still unpacking gifts, writing thank you cards, and laughing about the dance floor disasters when a message popped into my inbox. It was from Adam, subject line, "Let's talk." I stared at it for a long time before opening it. My chest tightened like a fist was slowly clenching around my ribs. Inside, he'd written, "I know you're mad, and I probably deserve that, but I really need to talk to you. It's about Mom. Please call me." Part of me wanted to delete it and never look back, but the words "it's about Mom" echoed in my head. Despite everything, a piece of me still cared, still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was something worth salvaging. So I called. He picked up on the first ring. "Claire." His voice was quieter than I expected, like he was drained. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't sound arrogant. He sounded scared. "What about Mom?" I asked, skipping the small talk. "She's been sick," he said. "She didn't want you to know. But it's getting worse." I felt my breath catch. "Sick how?" "She was diagnosed with lupus a year ago," he said. "It's been flaring up bad lately. She's in and out of the hospital." I sat down on the edge of the couch, stunned. Why wouldn't she tell me? Adam sighed. Because she felt ashamed. About everything. About what happened with the wedding fund. About how you cut her off. I didn't cut her off. I set a boundary. "I know. I'm not saying you were wrong," he admitted. "But Claire, she misses you." A lump formed in my throat. I didn't know what to say. So much anger still boiled inside me, but guilt was fighting for space. "I'm not ready to talk to Dad," I said flatly. "I don't think she expects that," Adam replied. "But she wanted me to ask if you'd come see her. Just once." I thought about it for 3 days before I gave in. Not for Adam. Not even for closure. But for her. Despite everything, my mother had been the one person in that house who, while complicit, had also once braided my hair before dances, had sneaked birthday cupcakes into school when I was 10, had cried during my high school graduation. And now, in a way that terrified me, I was about to cry over her too. When I walked into the hospital room, she looked so small, frail. Her eyes lit up the moment she saw me, but they were rimmed with dark circles and fear. "Claire." I sat down beside her. Neither of us said anything for a while, just stared at each other. Two women who shared blood, history, and 1,000 unspoken words. Then she whispered, "You look beautiful." I felt my throat tighten. "You should have been there," I said. "You should have stood up for me." She nodded slowly. Her hands trembled in her lap. "I was wrong," she said. "I didn't know how to stop protecting Adam. It's like he always needed rescuing, and I thought, if I could just save him one more time, maybe he'd change." I scoffed lightly. "He never will." "I know that now," she said softly, "but it's too late." I swallowed hard. "Why didn't you fight for me?" Tears slid down her face. "Because I was weak. I let your father take the lead. I let my silence hurt you. I wanted to be a good mother, but I wasn't." Her voice broke on that last word. I took a shaky breath. "You let him steal from me. You let him pretend like I was just a backup plan." "I know," she whispered. "I sent that check. It was all I could do." I nodded. "I figured as much. It helped," I said honestly, "but it didn't erase anything." "I never meant to hurt you," she said. "But you did." We sat in silence again. This time, I reached out and held her hand. Not because I forgave her completely. Not because I was ready to forget. But because I loved her, even through the disappointment. And I didn't want my last memory of her to be resentment. She passed away 6 months later. Quietly. peacefully, in her sleep. I didn't attend the funeral. I sent flowers, a letter, but I didn't want to see my father. Not after what happened next. About a week after her death, I received a call from the family's estate lawyer. Apparently, my mother had written a separate letter to be opened upon her death, a private message just for me. It was handwritten, 8 pages long. She apologized again. She said she was proud of the woman I'd become. She said she hoped I'd build a family that loved me the way I always deserved. And then came the part that left me speechless. She'd left me her personal savings account. Over $30. Oh, she wrote. This is for your future. Not for your brother. Not for anyone else. This is for you, Claire. Because I should have protected you when it mattered most. And I want to try, even now. I broke down in tears when I read that. Not because of the money, but because, for the first time in my life, she'd chosen me. Of course, my father wasn't happy. The next week, he sent a barrage of messages, angry, condescending, saying the money should have been split. That Adam is struggling. I didn't reply. I didn't owe him anything, not anymore. That money was mine, and I used it wisely. Leo, and I bought a small home, nothing extravagant, but cozy. Ours. I started therapy. I finally launched the photography side business I'd been dreaming about for years. Every click of my camera felt like freedom. One evening, Leo and I were sitting on our porch. It had been a long day, and we were sipping tea under the glow of string lights. He looked over at me and asked gently, "You think you'll ever speak to your dad again?" I took a long pause before answering. "I don't know," I said. "Maybe, but only if he learns what it means to treat his children equally, to apologize, to change." "Do you think he can?" I stared out into the dusk, watching the last bit of sunlight disappear over the trees. "I think some people never change," I said. "But that doesn't mean I have to wait around to find out. I used to think family was something you were born into. Unchangeable, unshakable. But I've learned that real family isn't just blood, it's loyalty, respect, effort, and silence. It's no longer my role. It's my rebellion. Because I am the silent sibling no more. And this is the sound of me choosing myself. Finally. Fully. Forever."